What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Rivera.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
That's right, it's Unbothered by Rivera. Snoopy Bijou, if you're wondering, is currently eating a Whimsy's alligator, the never-to-be sponsor of Unbothered by Rivera. Thanks for the feedback on the last episode. I'm glad a lot of people liked it, and I'm glad that people are really starting, well, not starting. Yeah, maybe starting. Well, it's like I get less kickback on the stuff I say now. More and more people are starting to actually get what it is I mean when I say what it is I say. I think maybe back in, 2016 when I started doing this, there were a lot more people that had, negative opinions of the kind of stuff that I was saying or didn't really get it. But I think over the years, people have just started to get like, oh, okay, so this is what you mean. And, for me, it's all just stuff to talk about. It's like having a conversation with you guys, giving you guys something to do while you're folding clothes or cleaning your apartment or whatever it is you guys do while you're listening to Unbothered by Rivera. That's what I do with the podcasts that I love to listen to. I just put them on. There's only two that I really listen to regularly. I'm about to listen to one by my friend. What is their name? I forget. I wish I could remember. But anyway, it's called Gender Fluids is the name of the podcast. And a friend of mine that I don't know why I'm not remembering her name right now. Well, I think it's there. I don't know if they're even particular about that. I don't know what anybody's doing anymore. I don't know if people are non-binary. I think she's a she and a lesbian, but I could be wrong. Anyway, the podcast is called Gender Fluids. I think she's really great, and so I want to go ahead and support and listen. But just another person that really, Ariel is her name. That's right. It's Ariel. And so, but I don't know, because here's the confusion. On Instagram, she's Ellen DeGenderless. So I don't know if now they identify as non-binary, and this is where it gets confusing. But also, I know that they're not the kind of person that would even get mad at me about this. So it makes it easy for me, but at the same time, it's embarrassing more. I'm embarrassed that I didn't remember the name at first. So there it is. Anyway, I think it's kind of like they say, when people say your vibe attracts your tribe, because more and more people are starting to actually get what it is I mean and how I mean it. And even some of the stuff I do with 2 days ago, I posted a picture of me wearing a red MAGA hat, the Make America Great Again hat. And a few people complained, but the main complaint people had was I was obviously shirtless in the picture, and it was from shoulders up. And people were like, I'm more disappointed that that abs aren't pictured in this and stuff like that. And then one person pointed out the fact that they were like, Trez, my friend Trez pointed out, he was like, this is so 2016. And he was like, you're wearing a red MAGA hat. And so I went ahead and put on the white MAGA hat, which is the Make America Great Again, which I don't remember what it, or Keep America Great, whatever the fuck it is. But, so I put on a white MAGA hat, and I did from basically the hips up shirtless. And so I let everybody know that I heard your complaints, and I'm working to do better, and thank you for being patient. And both times, there's a few people that said something that was, I guess, kind of could be construed as negative, but I don't take any of that personally, because I'm not Donald Trump, and I'm not a huge Donald Trump supporter that way. I've already said this before. I think in 2015, a lot of people were describing me more as a Donald Trump supporter because they didn't understand that I wasn't arguing with them specifically over Donald Trump. I was arguing with them over my right to vote however I wanted to vote as an American. and you not being able to put me in the box of, oh, well, you're Mexican American, so this is the way you're supposed to vote. You're gay, so this is the way you're supposed to vote. It wasn't, for me, that's not a fair way to go at it, like to try to tell me that I'm supposed to think a certain way just because of, my sexual orientation or my ethnicity just isn't a valid argument. And it also assumes that my values are certain things because of those two things. Like, I must think this way because of that. And who are you to tell me how I must think about things? I personally, like I said, I talked about this a bit last week, but when it comes to the the protest, like, for a minute I was down with the protest idea. I'm not showing up to a protest, but I was down with other people protesting. But then it went on too long, and I got like, yeah, this is just ridiculous now. Like, this doesn't have to keep going on. And Portland to me is the worst city for them to do it to, because Portland is such a supportive city when it comes to what would be considered like social justice warrior values. Portland really does go out of its way to be politically correct and make sure that, they are aware of what's going on with people's pronouns and stuff like that. And maybe there's a problem I didn't know about in Portland, but that's always the picture I'd gotten from it. And I used to have to steamroll that because, I started off kind of in that area when it comes to going on the road. And so I was familiar with the way it is, but like now it's a war zone every day, and you see this all the time on social media. I had somebody tell me that they didn't know, or that I probably didn't know that there were still protests going on until, we started hearing about the federal authorities snatching people up in white vans. But it was like, no, I have a Twitter. Of course I knew that was going on. So, if you're on Twitter, and I follow Andy No, who Andy No has gotten in a bit of trouble for being kind of an alt-right sympathizer, is what people would say, which alt-right is its own thing. People got mad at me a couple years back when alt-right first came to light. Not trying to rhyme, but I did. But yeah, when alt-right first became an actual thing, where the media started talking about it, and I tried to explain to people that there's really nothing to be afraid of, because the numbers that you're seeing as far as people that identify as alt-right was really kind of a genius marketing strategy on the part of the alt-right, because like a lot of people thought alt-right was like, it got obscured at a point, but a lot of people thought that alt-right was just a fun group that liked to troll the left and make fun of SJW culture, and used Pepe the Frog as like, their insignia or their symbol, or which the artist that actually made Pepe the Frog ended up, I think, trying to sue them, or did sue them. I don't know where that went or how that went down in the end, but the artist wasn't at all down with his artwork being used that way, and then people started putting the MAGA hat on it. And so, but I try to tell people that, like, a lot of people that identified as alt-right didn't really know what alt-right was. So when, when it became a thing, and then people were like, oh, the numbers are ridiculous, and there's so many people that identify as alt-right, I was trying to tell people, yes, I get what you're saying. I get that there are serious parts about it, but at the same time, it's really nothing to worry about, because the numbers aren't what they look like. And a lot of people, you notice, well, if you were online like that, then you would have noticed that a lot of people disavowed the alt-right at that point, because they were like, yeah, I hadn't even realized that that's what I was identifying as, which you could argue that people should know what it is they're identifying as, or who it is they're lining up with. But a lot of times people don't. And that's, another thing that people have gotten a little bit. I have a few friends that are on the QAnon, and I don't know if it's QAnon or QAnon, because I have a friend that says QAnon. But whatever it is, it's the people that are trying to expose the pedophiles that are within the entertainment industry, which, according to Corey Feldman and every insider that I've seen any interview with, there is some level of truth to that. Do I think every person that they think was a pedophile or is a pedophile is a pedophile? Not necessarily. Just because a lot of that stuff, like the way that people mix in Hollywood, it's very superficial. Like, people always talk about how fake Hollywood is, but people I think, don't realize like the full extent of how fake Hollywood is, and how things can be super obscured at different points because of the way that people interact without interacting, or know each other without really knowing each other. Um, But when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the flight log, when it comes to that situation, it's kind of like, to me, it's where a lot of people, are dumb celebrities and they end up meeting this billionaire and they don't do a lot of research on it. When it comes to the politicians, I think they know what's going on or knew what was going on when they went to Epstein Island, because they have so many people looking out for them and so many people researching these people and figuring out what it is they're about, that I don't really see how that would be possible, when it comes to the Bill Clintons, even the Donald Trumps. But who knows, with Donald Trump, and this isn't me making an excuse for him, but who knows with Donald Trump when it comes to my little puppy. Are you choking? Mm. She's finished her whimsy and now she's come to sit with me, because that's what she does when she's done with her little alligator. She comes back and sits with daddy. But when it comes to Donald Trump, you know, that was during his civilian days that the Jeffrey Epstein thing was happening. So he could have been one of the dumb celebrities too. Like, sometimes people hang out with people for a long amount of time and don't actually know what it is they're up to. Like, I know I've had situations where I've been hanging out with coke dealers and, at different points, meth dealers too. And I didn't know that they sold drugs. I did not know. I do the story sometimes on stage about when I got hit by a bullet. I was hanging out with those guys for a couple of weeks and hadn't realized that they were gangbangers. And the punchline to the joke is just about me. I didn't realize they were gangbangers, and the ambulance driver, or the cop asked me, "How did you not know you were hanging out with gangbangers?" And I was like, "I just thought they liked the Raiders." And that serves as a punchline for that, but in real life, that's what it was. I wasn't from Phoenix and I didn't know anything about these people other than they were cool guys and they were always nice to me, and they weren't like, always throwing up gang signs and stuff like that. So I had no idea. And then, after I got shot, then I come to find out that they're gangbangers, and then they fessed up afterwards to me, and I hung out with them for a while after, because they were already my friends by that point, and I had already taken a bullet, so why not hang out now? I earned my way in. But at the same time, like, you don't always know who you're hanging out with. Somebody says they're a billionaire, they offer to take you to an island, maybe, because I also don't think Jeffrey Epstein, from all accounts, he wasn't a dumb man. So he would be smart enough to not roll out the kids every time somebody comes over. He could have a party and just keep it all adults. Do I think that's going to be the most fun party for him? Not if that's his thing, which it clearly was. But sometimes you do things to keep up appearances. So, and I'm not making excuses for anybody as far as that goes, but I'm just saying that sometimes people don't know who it is they're associating with or what it is they're doing. Back when the Crystalia situation happened, I had people hitting me up because, me and Crystalia had been friendly. We were never besties or anything like that, but we would text with each other every once in a while. But that's been years that I haven't, dealt with Crystalia on any level. But I had people hitting me up and asking me if I knew that he liked underage girls, and or what he was like when I would talk to him, and it was like, Crystalia's always had pretty girls around him, but they were always girls, old enough to be in the Comedy Store and stuff like that, which is 21. And I know that because there was a shooting at the Comedy Store at one point. I don't know if everybody's familiar with this story, but it's something that happened and it was very public. It's not like I'm spilling any tea right now or, like telling people anything they shouldn't know. But a couple years back, there was a shooting at the Comedy Store. It happened while they were having roast battle, so that was on a Tuesday night. And they also had Trippin' on Tuesdays was the name of the show in the main room, because the roast battle would happen in the belly room, and completely packed out. Belly room was always completely packed out for roast battle at that time. Roast battle was really at its height at that point. And then what's it called, Trippin' on Tuesday was a super popular, the urban show, as they would say, the black show. And that was super popular, so that was packed. And then the original room, this was when Comedy Store really started going again, so like all the rooms were packed, and a guy got shot on the patio. So the guy ends up getting shot on the patio, and then of course, with that happening, the guy died. with that having happened, suddenly the police kept an eye on the Comedy Store. They were watching it like a hawk. There was even talk about them closing down the Comedy Store. And luckily, though, they were able to stay open, but the conditions were they had to be super stringent on um, like checking everybody's ID, and it didn't matter because at that point I've been going to the Comedy Store for years already. At least 10 years probably that I'd been going to the Comedy Store. So I knew everybody. I knew all the doormen. I knew all the employees. Just everybody working at the Comedy Store knew me. Most of the people working the Comedy Store, well, I can say pretty much all of the people working this Comedy Store were my friends, but it was still one of those things where it's like, we got to see your ID, Ty. Doesn't matter. Got to see your ID. And, I just don't believe in giving people a hard time when they're doing their jobs. So even though you know me, and even though we both know that I'm old enough to be in here, I will show you my ID every time I come in, just so that I set an example for the other people. Because if they see people, if people see somebody just go through, then people are like children, and they're like, well, why does he get to go through and we don't get to go through? But if they see a person like me that obviously gets called out by name, they're like, hey, Ty, how are you? And gives a hug and then still shows an ID. It's kind of like, hey, if we know this guy this much and we ask him for an ID and he gives one, then what makes you think we're not going to insist on getting an ID for you? There's no preferential treatment going on right now. Everybody has to have an ID. That's one thing a lot of people don't get when it comes to bars and stuff like that. It doesn't matter that you're just old enough. You're supposed to have your ID on you, and if you don't, in most states, the bartenders can get a fine. And if enough of those fines happen, the bar can lose its license, and then there's no more bar. So and I know that because I've had so many friends that were bartenders and bar owners at this point in my life that I just know how it works, and I don't give people a hard time. Same with the mask. I've already been clear about the fact that I'm not a fan of wearing a mask, and I'm not trying to wear a mask, but at the same time, I know that these businesses have to stay open and have to have us wear masks so that they can stay open. They have to have us respect the social distancing. Everything they ask us to do is for a reason. None of these people really want to enforce these rules, because for enforcing rules sucks, especially because people don't want to listen. People feel like, no, I'm special. I shouldn't have to do that. And the bar's like, well, we're trying to stay open right now. We just came off a 2-3 month shutdown, because depending on which bar it is, which casino it is, which whatever it is, people were shut down 2 to 3 months. Some people are shut down again right now. And that's in both of the cities that I occupy, which would be Phoenix and Las Vegas. So when you have people that are just trying to get their feet back under them and figure out what it is they're doing and not have the state on their ass, you just got to go with it, and you got to do what they want you to do. If you want me to wear a mask because I'm running in real quick to buy some groceries, and that's what we have to do to keep our grocery stores, which they can't close our grocery stores, but they can definitely put more restrictions on it. I mean, like Vegas, there's still aren't 24-hour grocery stores, or most of them aren't even returned to regular hours where it's like midnight or anything like that. For a minute, it was 8 o'clock was when the grocery store closed, I think, and that was hard to make it to, especially since some days I don't wake up till 6 p.m. But now it seems like 10 o'clock or maybe even 11 was one Smith's that I went to. But everybody's on restricted hours, so you want to be able to get everybody to the most freedom possible. And if that's going to take me wearing a mask, then I'm going to wear a mask, and I'm not going to yell at you or give you a hard time, because I realize you're just working. Like, you're not worried about whether or not I wear a mask in your regular life. This isn't about you trying to make a political statement or you trying to control me or any of the things that people think online. This is just about people trying to keep their jobs and make sure they're able to put food on the table and, hopefully be able to save their business in some cases. So I'm not going to give people a hard time about doing what it is they have to do to make things work the way that they need to work. That's just something that I am very much against. When I see people yelling at them, it's like, yeah, if you want, email Sisolak or call Sisolak's office or do whatever you want. That's the governor here. Or Ducey, that's Arizona. Whatever you have to do to make that happen, make that happen. But don't take it out on the poor person. And I don't mean poor, you know what I mean. Um, because I often get people trying to shit on me for having an elitist type attitude, which I don't know what kind of money you think I'm pushing over here, but let me tell you, I'm not making elitist money. When I am making elitist money, I'll come at you from that perspective because that'll be my reality. But for right now, let's talk at my pay grade. When I say poor people, I mean unfortunate people that are stuck with the job of having to tell you to wear a mask or be at the door of a place or be security of a place. You don't think that's a fun job, do you? Like, a lot of that is nothing but dealing with irate customers or having to remove people. And it's so just make it easy on people is all I'm saying. Like, last night I talked about this a little bit, or today I talked about it. Last night I got so bummed looking at social media because 2 days ago, which would be Monday, Dr. Emmanuel did that press conference, which Dr. Emmanuel is the lady that people are calling a witch doctor and stuff like that because she was saying that people should get on, well, not get on, but hydrochloroquine and, a combination of two or three other things was the cure for COVID. And so she supposedly had 350 patients that she, you know, and she didn't lose one of them that had COVID, and that was the solution. That was the cure. And so, people were mad about that, which I knew people were mad about it. But I had so much going on Monday when that actually came out that I wasn't able to check it out. I didn't even get to watch the full 40-minute. And because I know these are going to be like hot button issues for people, I'll usually at least watch them because I'll either do a YouTube video or an Unbothered on it. And I know that I'm going to talk about it or people are going to ask me about it. So I usually will check things out in their entirety so that I at least know completely what they're about, not just the sound bite. I hate people that just go off of sound bites. But in this case, I was having trouble with the AC in my car, which is a whole nother story, because I was in Phoenix and my AC went out. It started going out. It was working only intermittently for like a week leading up. And I had just changed out a couple weeks back the blower motor and the resistor because those went out on me, and that was a couple months ago, and they quoted me 650 at the place I went to, and I knew they were being fair about the price. That's just what it costs with labor. But I also was like, let me see, because since we all have YouTube now, we can figure things out on our own. And so between YouTube and Amazon, I was like, okay, I'm able to figure this out on my own. Parts were under $100. I got everything done for $113. I did everything myself. But it did take me actually getting under the dashboard and unscrewing the blower motor and pulling that out, putting a new one in. The resistor was a little bit more work because I had to take out another piece so that I could get to it because it's buried a little bit behind the dash, or the dash, but the glove compartment. And so, like, I had to put in a little bit of work myself, but I was able to save myself like 400, $500, and so with it being pandemic right now, and I already told you I'm not one of the elites. It's not like I can just throw away $650. I did that on my own. I was super happy about it. That continued to work, but then all of a sudden I had a problem with my AC. Like I said, it was working intermittently. I thought this is going to be expensive, and when I say expensive, I thought like $650, $700, something like that again, which is what they were talking about at the other place. Nope, it turns out they quoted me $2,300 because I needed a full AC kit, which apparently includes your air compressor, or your compressor, your air condenser, and some other stuff. I needed a full kit. And I went ahead and looked at it on YouTube. I looked at it on Amazon as well. It would have been like $230. I think that's, yeah, I think 230 was the highest I saw on that. I could be wrong on that number though, but it was like, $200. Um, no more than 300. And but it also is a huge job and on that one I was like, I don't think I'm going to become that level of mechanic in enough time to get me and Bijou out of here. And that was my main concern when it started getting hot in the car, because like I said, it worked intermittently, and it worked intermittently even on the trip up until what? Because I was able to roll up the windows, turn it on, cool off, and then it would go out. And then I'd roll the windows down. We'd deal with the heat for a while, and then at a point it just started blowing hot air, and I was like, "Yep, that it went." And like I said, I thought it was just like I was gonna need a compressor. It was gonna be a little bit expensive, and not that big a deal. So I also was like, I don't know if it needs Freon. At the time I checked before, the compressor was still working, the clutch was still engaging, so I was still seeing it spin. So I was pretty sure that, I'd be able to just like put some maybe the AC stop leak in it. But like I went ahead and bought that. I bought the little pressure thing. I did everything that I was supposed to do, and it was not working at all. Like my compressor, it wasn't engaging anymore. The clutch wasn't engaging, so it wasn't spinning, so it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to take this in. So I put on Facebook that I was looking for, a mechanic if anybody had any suggestions, and that I was in Arizona. And then people started hitting me up, and I went to one place that, not only did somebody hit me up, but a family member was also like, "Yeah, I've gone to that place too." And so I took my car there. $2,300 was what they quoted me, and I was like, "I cannot do $2,300." And the guy was like, "Well, we have financing," and I was like, "Well, you can shove that financing up your ass because I am not paying $2,300. My car is a 2013." With over 200,000 miles on it, and I bought it brand new. Well, technically, I leased it and then I bought it, but I've had the car the whole time. It's one owner. It's just me, and I know that that car is not worth $2,300 at this point. So for me to put $2,300 just to fix the AC, it was like no. And plus, I just don't have $2,300 to spend on AC, so I was screwed. And so I put on Facebook, hey, if anybody knows of somebody that can do this in either state, possibly even Texas. I even put Texas on there because I was like, if I have to drive to Texas to get this fixed, I'll leave Bijou in Phoenix and I'll go to Texas and do what I have to do. Luckily, somebody hit me up in Phoenix, technically El Mirage, and it was a friend of mine that's been a Facebook friend for a long time, saw my comedy, just always stayed in touch, and I appreciate all those people because all those people helped me in so many ways you guys wouldn't even understand. Not just understanding me, not just putting up with my thoughts, not just coming out to my shows, but people have been real resources to me when it comes to that kind of, this kind of stuff, like stuff where it's like I need something, I can't necessarily afford it at this particular price. I can pay something because I'm not asking people to, take care of me. But at the same time, and I told people, don't send me your I'm sorry because I'll get this figured out. If you really want to do something for me, you send me some money, which isn't me technically asking for money. I mean, like, I don't mind if people do send me money, and some people did send me money. Thank you for the money, you guys. But at the same time, the most important thing for me as far as that goes was just to get people to not I hate when I need something and people are hitting me up with the, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, oh, that's terrible. And it's like, no, right now I need actual suggestions as far as who I can go to get this done. Don't send me an I'm sorry, send me some money, or send me an actual place that I can get it done, a recommendation. And technically I wanted a recommendation. That's what I wanted because I knew that people weren't going to send me enough money to pay for the whole damn thing. So keep your money and send me the recommendation that's going to save me money on this. So one of my Facebook friends hit me up, and she was like, hey, I happen to have a cousin that owns a shop. And I was like, well, she said, I have a cousin that is a mechanic. And I was thinking just, maybe they were going to do it in their spare time or something like that. Because the way she said it, her cousin was a mechanic. And I'm cool with that. If somebody knows what they're doing, I'll, pay them, break them off, do what I have to do. But so I got in contact with her, and she gave me her cousin's information. And her cousin hit me up, and he's like, yeah, come down, and the whole thing, and gave me a quote, and it was very reasonable, so great that I'm not going to tell you guys what it was because I don't want anybody else thinking that they're committed to that price. If I do end up ever mentioning their particular company on social media, which I very well might do, I just didn't want to do it right away because I I feel like then everybody would want the hookup, So at some point, I'll probably shout them out and just not give a lot of details as far as anything else goes, but just that they do great work. My AC is running cool, so that's the spoiler of the story is I got it fixed. But like I said, They hit me up, and I thought it was gonna be like go to their house and they're gonna work on it in their garage or something like that. And then I get there and it's an actual shop, like it's an actual mechanic shop. The guy owns it, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it for you for this, and that's just because so and so speaks highly of you, and you guys are friends, and so but." This is technically way less than I would be doing it for. And I was like, thank you so much. And so it took him only a day. I know when people are giving me any kind of help, I'm not the guy. Excuse me, I'm not the guy. It's COVID. Don't worry about it. Just a little COVID cough. If you're around me anytime you get sick, that's your business. So, yeah, the main thing with that whole situation was, I'm when people ask me or tell me they're going to do something for me at a discount or for free or whatever the deal is with these people, I am not the kind of person that's going to diva out on you and be like, okay, well, can you work around my schedule? No, you tell me when I can come in, when you want me to come in, when it works for you. And I get it if you're not going to be in a super duper rush. Yes, I do need to get out of here at some point. So, I mean, like, I would appreciate, but like, this was not a problem with this guy. He was just like, yeah, if you can get it here this afternoon, that's great. If you can get it here tomorrow morning, either way, just give me a full day with it and I'll get it done for you. And so I did not waste time. I did not dilly. I did not dally. I went ahead and jumped in my car and I was like, come follow me. I had, person pick me up, or follow me to the mechanic shop, and I had to drive in that hot ass Arizona sun, and but I needed to get this done because for me it's uncomfortable. For Bijou, it's life threatening, and a lot of people might think that's dramatic, but when the AC fully went out, and we were about halfway to Phoenix at that point, my poor little Bijou was panting so hard that I really started to worry about her. And I had plenty of water. I always keep plenty of water in her bowl with water when we're on the road because we've been on the road a lot. So it's not like we get caught in a lot of situations where it's like, oh, we're fucked. It's like, no, I plan for pretty much everything because me and Bijou have been on the road ever since she was a little puppy. Ever since that car was brand new, I got that car around the same time that I got Bijou. And so, that's Bijou's car, if you ask me. My little puppy. But yeah, I was really worried about her because she was panting so much, and there was nothing I can do about it. And like I said, we were about halfway to Phoenix at that point. So if we had turned around and drove back to Vegas, we would have been just as screwed as if we just continued on to Phoenix. So I was like, I got to make it to Phoenix, but I knew that I definitely could not risk her on the ride out there, especially knowing that that's the situation and how her little body reacted to it. I couldn't take that chance with her. I had to make sure that that car was, that the AC was back up and running. And so, I went right then when he told me. It was about, 4 o'clock or something like that. And I made it over to where they were by like 4:30 p.m. and dropped the car off. And he was like, yeah, just give me a full day with it. And then the following day, I hit him up around 2 in the afternoon just to get some progress, because if it was going to take them overnight or whatever, or whatever they had to do to have it ready, then like I said, I'm trying to be as easy as possible because, but also I have to arrange for a ride and stuff like that. So, I'm trying to get an idea. And the guy was like, or actually it was a lady that answered it. Was it the guy that I dealt with? And she was like, yeah, which car is it? And I told her, and she was like, yep, looking like it's supposed to be done around 4 p.m. So I was like, okay. And, I was like, if you guys don't mind, I'll be there at 4:30. And I did it that way just to let them know there's not a rush. If you guys need a little bit of time, to make sure that you could do what you have to do, then I'm perfectly willing to deal with that. And so I went and picked up my car. I got there at 4:30. The guy was ready for me. And it was, my AC's running cool and I'm happy. So, my life, it just like sometimes I wanna like, and every once in a while I do fall into the trap of being a little bit bummed out or being a little bit depressed, and I've talked about that on this podcast a couple of times, several times probably, but when it comes to the way life works out now, I really don't get depressed about a lot of stuff because I always feel like things will work out. And sometimes things get worse before they get better, but things always do work out. And that's why I try to tell people all the time, like, yeah, I know there's a lot of things frustrating you. And I know that there's a lot of things that seem wrong with the world. And I know sometimes it feels like the world is going to hell in a handbasket. But the truth is, things are getting better. If you look at the way people interact with each other, even like, yeah, there's the stuff on like online, which I had to address, and I started to talk about that. But my thing with that was, the Dr. Emmanuel situation, I didn't actually get to watch that. I didn't get to watch the full 40 minutes because that's when I was having the trouble with my car, and I knew I had to get that figured out. Plus, I had other things that I had to take care of while I was in Phoenix. And so I'm trying to take care of all the stuff I have to take care of. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't have time to watch a 40-minute video right now. I can't take time out of my day. And I knew that because it was on COVID, it was going to get taken down. Like, we all knew that. I don't think there's a person, unless you don't pay attention to social media, you knew that was getting taken down. So I knew that was getting taken down. So I was like, there's a good chance that I'm probably not going to be able to watch this. And I probably could have downloaded it, like using one of the apps or whatever. But I didn't want to do that. It wasn't that serious to me. I was like, I'll see it or I'll see what I need to see about it. And so I watched the first little bit of it and I was like, yeah, I already know this is getting taken down. But I went ahead and watched the first couple of minutes, and then I knew everybody was going to be arguing about it, but I couldn't understand the degree to which people are arguing. And I also can't understand, like, if the video offers some people a little bit of hope and, just a little bit of hope that we're going to return back to whatever normalcy is going to be, then why are you so willing to stomp on that? Why does that bother you so much? And I know some people will say, well, it's dangerous because some people will start trying to get hydrochloroquine, or it could make it hard for people that have other, because I've heard that people use that to treat lupus, malaria, and then somebody else was saying that there was a family member that uses it to treat something else, that it's prescribed to them. And so, I mean, like, I understand that you think that might happen, but that's probably not the most likely. Then there's the people that worry about the idiots that'll do things like that couple that ended up eating or drinking or however they consumed the aquarium cleaner. Like, but those people are stupid, and evolution was going to take them out one way or the other. And it turns out that the wife might actually poison the husband, is what some people were saying. That's been alleged a couple of times. So when it comes to that situation, who knows what happened there? I didn't bother looking into it because it was funny to me. Like, not it was funny that she killed him, but it was funny to me that that would be the way she goes about it. Like, here's the cure, and then she kills him. But but I didn't really look into it the way I should. But I didn't realize the way people were going to be going at each other. And so here we are on Tuesday. My car's been fixed, and I'm on my way home, and I'm seeing people and the way people are treating each other and the way people are arguing with each other and just the way people talk to each other in general. I just was like, what is going on with people? Like, what has happened? And so I posted about it this morning, just that it kind of bummed me out looking at the way that people were treating each other and the way that people were talking to each other. And I know people have an idea of me and the way that I am, but if you talk to people that know me, and I don't mean like you have to know me intimately to see this side of me or any of that kind of stuff. Like, just you talk to anybody that knows me, sees me, deals with me out in the streets or, at the clubs or, comedy clubs, regular clubs, whatever it is. I am very polite in conversation, and I'm very respectful in the way that I talk to somebody, unless somebody is really disrespectful with me. Then I'll say something, I'll address it. But really, like, my default position is very respectful. I mentioned this not too long ago on Facebook that, like, a lot of times people think that, if I see somebody that I don't like, or if I talk to somebody or, end up coming in contact with somebody that I don't like, that I'm going to like fly off the handle or something like that. And that's not what I do. I'm not passive aggressive about it either. I'm very chill in the way that I handle it because being in stand-up, I've always had to work around people that I didn't want to have to be around. But that's just what it is. If you're on the same show with people, then you have to be on the show with them. So for me, I'm very used to that, and so I am a very respectful person. So when I was watching these people just shit on each other, I was just like, what is the matter with you guys, you know? But obviously, I'm not going to be the mom of Facebook and start like telling everybody the way that they're supposed to behave. And, you know, like when it comes to my page, if you know anything about the way I do things on social media, I probably could have more hardcore fans, like the, you know, the fanatics that'll like really rip into people. But that's not what I'm trying to cultivate, even though I know that that's a great way to build an army and get people to just at any cost, you know, take care of you or whatever. But I don't want the karma that comes with that. You know, like when I had the situation where the guy was trying to get me taken off the shows that I was doing for, the I don't know if I talked about that on an episode or not, but there was this situation where they were trying to get me taken off shows, and it was an LGBT group was the worst part of it. They were trying to get me taken off these shows that I was supposed to be doing, and like, you know, I did one. Some guy got offended. He made a big deal of it. He hit up the gay social media company, whatever it was, and you know, then they started trying to make a big deal and get me taken off the show and stuff like that. But like, you know, at a point, I did have to call in my Facebook friends, my army, which they had my back. So I'm going to call them my army because they really did have my back. But the thing I liked the most about it, the thing I respected the most about it was not a single person that was on my side that was standing up for me. And there were a lot of them. I got a lot of engagement on that shit. Like, you know, that gay media company, in quotes, gay media company. Yes, I'm being insulting. That gay media company was not ready for the way my people came at them. And like I said, the best part was nothing homophobic was said. No personal attacks happened. All that happened was a bunch of people came on and was like, hey, Ty Rivera is a great stand-up comic. He's great for LGBT. And that's the other thing. Like, people don't get. People like me really do help out a lot when it comes to LGBT and helping people get more familiar. I had somebody hit me up just yesterday, somebody that was involved with that show technically hit me up just yesterday when I was on my way from Phoenix to Vegas. And they hit me up and they asked me if it was okay for them to buy their trans friend perfume for her birthday. And I was like, as long as she's transitioning from male to female, that's perfectly acceptable. Like, you treat your trans friends like you would treat anybody that was born that particular gender. That's the rule of thumb for how you would treat your trans friends. If anybody at home is wondering either, you know what I mean? Like, this is also a quick little tip for you. You know, if your friend is transitioning from female to male, so from going from girl to boy, then you would give him whatever it is you would buy for a man. You know, if it's a tie you would buy a man, or cologne. I'm going to tell you guys, when it comes to me, give me a gift card. When it comes to my birthday, gift card works, because in other cases people buy me a bunch of shit I don't need. I told my family years ago, my whole family, don't buy me anything. One year I told my family, I was like, if you want to do something for me, pay a bill for yourself. Just pick one of your bills that you want to pay some extra towards and just put it towards that, because that to me is a better gift than you actually giving me something that I'm just going to throw in a corner and not use anyway. And I'm not trying to be mean about anything, but I have what I need. You know, I used to always want to buy my dad gifts and my mom, you know, and not anything extravagant, but I always wanted to do something for them for their birthdays, or for, you know, Father's Day, Mother's Day, that kind of stuff. And they both would tell me all the time, we have everything we need. And now I understand that thinking, because, you know, I have lived in my apartment for a while, and before that, you know, I had my place in LA for a while. Like, I've lived on my own for quite a while now. You know, I've had roommates at different points and stuff like that, but, you know, I've been living as an adult. So really, I have everything that I need. You know, I don't need a bunch of extra stuff. So when people are talking about gifts and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, maybe I would want to get some clothes or something like that. That would be cool. So then just buy me a gift card, and, you know, I can buy whatever. Or if I wanted anything like knickknacks for my apartment, that's pretty gay sounding, but maybe I could want some knickknacks, right? I can't want knickknacks. Are you guys trying to knickknack shame right now? Because I don't think I'm going to allow that. I only have a few boundaries left, but you guys are about to cross one right now. If you're gonna start shaming about knickknacks, that's not what we not gonna do. Oh, but anyway, but yeah, it's like, I just don't need anything, and like the stuff people get you when you're a guy is like, cologne. Yeah, sometimes I wear cologne, but I don't really want a bottle of cologne. Plus, we may not have the same taste and scents. Plus, the scent that you get might not necessarily go with my body chemistry, so don't buy me that. Tie, I never wear a tie. There's just not a lot of stuff that I actually want. So I'm not trying to shake anybody down for, gifts. But my point is, if it's transitioning from female to male, then you get them boy stuff. If they're transitioning from male to female, so going from girl to boy or boy to girl, then you get them girl stuff and they will love you for it. Unless they're non binary, and then all bets are off. I told you guys, I'm not the best with the non binary. I don't know what I'm supposed to do or what I'm not supposed to do. I'm trying my best, but when it comes down to it, I'm an old fag and I don't care who fucking knows it. I mean, like, I'm not out here trying to be young. That's what some people just don't get about me. Like I talked about that girl last week or a couple weeks ago, that was like, oh, you're old and whatever else. And it's like, who was trying to be young over here? Because that's always what I've gone off of, for the last several years now. I'm just like, let me be older and die, like don't try to give me a bunch of like, this is what you have to remember now and that's what you have to remember now. No, I don't have to remember anything. I will try to remember things because, like I said, my default is to be respectful. My default is to be cool. My default is open communication. These are my default settings. I like getting to know about people. I don't mind listening to different points of view. I don't feel threatened at all by any of this stuff. New stuff coming up, new people coming in. I don't feel threatened by any of it. What I don't like is when people yell at me and try to act like, oh, you're so stupid. This is what you're supposed to do. Then I'll shut down and be like, no, this is where you'll get to see the bitchy side of me, because I am not just going to be talked to like some kind of asshole because I don't know about this thing that you just made up the other day that nobody ever identified as when I was coming up, and you're going to act like I should know about it. Well, educate yourself. Well, I'm not going to read a bunch of fucking blogs about shit I don't fucking care about, and that's just where I'm at with it. So if you want to educate me, if you want to tell me what you're like and I like you enough as a person, then I'll do exactly what it is you want because I like you as a person. But I'll tell you, if you come at me shitty, what's going to happen is I'm going to come at you shitty back one time, and then that'll be our last interaction together, and then I'll never deal with you again. I'm not looking to correct it at that point. I'm not looking to figure out what it was you were trying to say. I'm fine with just being like, okay, we're done. Like, we don't have to be friends. Not everybody's going to be friends. And that's something I came to terms with years ago, too. Like I told you guys, I don't have these things where it's like, I see people and I have these hard feelings or whatever. If I don't like somebody, they just don't exist to me. And it's not in a passive aggressive way. It's just like anything else. If you walk by a chair and you don't say hello to the chair, why would you say hello to the chair? The chair is an inanimate object. Like, that's the way I see people that I don't like or I don't want to talk to. And, I know it really gets under their skin, but that's not the reason I do it. But that's just the way I was raised. My mom used to tell me that when I was young because my sisters had friends that I didn't necessarily like. My sisters often ran with people that I was like, ugh, I don't like these people. I don't like this guy. I don't like this girl. Whatever. I didn't like them. But my mom wasn't going to make it so these people weren't allowed to come over to the house just because I didn't like them. Who was I? The little king? Now I'm picking out who my sister's friends could be. And it was for no good reason sometimes. Sometimes it was just like I didn't like them from school, or I didn't like the way they looked, or who knows why I didn't like people when I was a kid. But I was very picky when I was a kid about just like who was in my space. And I came to find out quickly that that wasn't my space. That was the family space. And so I could deal with it by going to my room. Or my mom used to tell me all the time, just ignore them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to hang out with them. Just ignore them. It's not your business anyway. And so I really adopted that, like things for me the certain things that I was told when I was young have really stuck with me, and I really feel like they've helped me out a lot. So, like sometimes people will feel I'm shading them by not necessarily talking to them or not acknowledging them, but the truth of the matter is I'm not shading them at all. To me, that's the most polite way to handle it. When, I talk, because there's people that have the same thinking that I do. I know that for a fact because, I've had people that I don't get along with ignore me. And for me, when I don't get along with someone and they ignore me, that is the most perfect situation in the world, because then they're doing their job of ignoring me, and then I can do my job of ignoring them, and then we don't have to have a problem at all. Like, it doesn't have to be a whole thing between the two of us. Like, there doesn't have to be any drama or anything, because it's just the way that it works for me, like I said, in stand up, that's the other place that I learned, because I've been on so many shows with people that I don't necessarily like. And I've talked about this. I know I've talked about this on either here or my YouTube. But, there's only one time that I had a person pulled off a show, and it was a weekend's worth of shows. And it was just because I was asked to headline. This person had bad mouthed me to everybody, and when I do something wrong, I don't mind admitting it. But this particular person, I didn't even know why they were mad at me, and they hadn't even been around that long. And I was just like, I don't have a problem with that person, but they were bad mouthing me, bad mouthing me, bad mouthing me. So then I end up finding out that they're supposed to be on the same show and a weekend's worth of shows with me. And I was just like, well, why would that ever happen? Like, they supposedly hate me, have spent a lot of time bad mouthing me. I don't know what it's about, but I don't want to work with that person. And I'm headlining, and I don't mind, because what I did was I didn't even do the, like, where take them off the show is what I said. I just said, if that person's on the show, I'm not going to be on the show. And then I left it in the producer's hands, or the booker's hands, and I was, perfectly fine. I was like, I can come out another week, or I don't mind if you feel like you shouldn't book me because of it, or don't want to rebook me because of it. I'll be honest, I wasn't being paid that much to be on the show, so that's a part of what factored in. Because if I'm not being paid, and it's a weekend's worth of shows, so I wasn't being paid that much anyway. So if I'm not being paid that much anyway, it's like I don't want to put up with any extra shit. You know what I mean? Especially having to deal with some sour motherfucker that clearly hates me for no reason at all. And if you've been listening to this podcast long enough, you know that I would tell you if there was something I'd done, because I don't care. Like, sometimes I'm in a bad mood or whatever happens, I really don't care when it's like, yeah, this is what I did, or this is why we don't like each other, or whatever. This person had no reason to like me. Supposedly, this person didn't like me. I'll tell you guys why this person supposedly didn't like me. Because one time I put up a post on Facebook. This is a long time ago. So one time I put up a post on Facebook where I said something like, there's a bunch of cute guys in LA right now that are doing stand up that are completely not funny. They're cute, but completely not funny. And so that post got a bunch of likes and stuff like that, because a lot of people knew what I was saying was true. It was just like, and you could say the same for like some of the female comics too. There were, several pretty ones that, you're just kind of like, yeah, she's not funny, but, it seems to have leveled itself out, or maybe I just left LA and so it feels like it levels itself out. But and there's also some very good looking people that are very funny, like I couldn't name a few, but I don't want them to think I'm ever flirting with them or it's a Me Too situation, so I won't. But there are some definitely good looking comics that are funny, but just there were a rash of unfunny good looking male comics, and I'm gay, so of course I noticed that they're good looking guys, but I'm a comic, so I noticed that they're not funny too. And so I posted this, and then I ended up hearing later that that person was mad because I had posted that. And then I was like, well, that person is wrong for even assuming that I thought they were good looking. And it was true, and so everybody got a huge laugh about that. So I think the combination of him at first thinking that that post was like lightweight shade towards him, and then me shutting it down, because I am good at shutting shit down in a funny way, because even with him, I wasn't like mad when I heard that he was mad about it, but it was like, the nerve of him, like, I thought he was cute. I did not think that at all. He was not who I pictured, which is a lot of times the way it is. If you notice the way things work online, a lot of times when you put out a blind item, because I'm the king of the blind item, I'll be like, this is what's going on, and then I'll let people figure it out for themselves, which to me is part of the fun, because then people get to have fun figuring out the mystery. And I don't tell people, well, once in a while I'll tell a few close friends, but when I say a few close friends, I've learned the way people are, so I only have a few close friends. And I know my close friends don't say my shit because my close friends have been my close friends for a long time now. Not one of these new bitches. Anything I say to you is meant to be heard by other people if you're not one of my close friends. If you're one of my close friends, you know already how it works around here. So, yeah, so I sometimes will put stuff out there, and it's just kind of a quote unquote blind item, and me having some fun and being like, let's see who can guess this one, like that kind of thing. And then it's always the wrong person that gets mad about it. I'm like, I didn't even mean you. Like one time I posted about some of the liberal male comics that were really trying to SJW, social justice warrior, or some of those guys, if they really meant what they were saying, some of those unfunny ones would give up their weekends and give them to some of the funny women of color, because that one came from, like at the time I had so many friends. This was right after I left LA, kind of. And I had so many friends that were really talented women of color, and black women specifically. Like if you consider Jill Chrissy or Dicey, Kimberly Dicey Douglas, who I've had on this podcast. Jasmine, who's newer, Jasmine Lee. Congratulations, Jasmine. She's pregnant right now and only has a couple weeks left. She's very funny, but she was newer at the time, so I wouldn't necessarily consider her for a weekend or think that she's gonna be, working a weekend. But there were several women that I could name, and that was inspired by seeing how long it took Tiffany Haddish to pop, as opposed to some of the white female comics that we've seen that keep getting opportunity after opportunity and never can make anything of it, but for some reason keep getting thrown in more shit. And it's like, that's kind of white privilege, if you want to really know. It applies to men and women in that way. But so when I was saying that, I wasn't even thinking about this comic. Technically, I've always thought comic was super funny, and he was always super nice to me, and he's been doing it longer than me, and he used to help me out when I was first starting out. So he would be the furthest person from my mind. And then he just starts trolling me in this hardcore way, like I was personally trying to attack him. And it was like, I wasn't even thinking about you even a little bit. Like, not even a little bit was I thinking about you. Like, that was a general towards, like a lot of what I was seeing. But, he thought I was talking about him, so it turned into a whole thing between me and him. I had it happen another time when I mentioned Nanette, because I thought Nanette was a terrible special. And it wasn't really stand-up, which she even admits that. It was like one-person show or one-woman show, depending on whether or not you want to gender it, but it was a one-person show is what it was. And those don't necessarily have to be funny, but it was being sold to us as like the best stand-up comedy special of the year. And like, this is the way Netflix and the different reviewers were touting this. And it was like, yeah, this is not stand-up, one thing. Two, it's not funny. And three, only a white woman has enough privilege that she can say she's quitting and they'll still make the special. Because I guarantee you, if you're black or Mexican and you say, hey, I'm quitting comedy anyway, everybody's gonna be like, all right, tear these fucking lights down. Let's get Nikki Glazer in here and get her another special. Or, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna fucking throw somebody in there right away that's, gonna actually still be in comedy. Like, you can't get away with being a person of color and being like, I'm gonna quit and this is gonna be my big special. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not the way it works. So when I mentioned that, Nanette only had that privilege because she was a white woman, which I've told you guys before, I don't really go off white privilege and stuff like that. But there are times when I do see it and I do know what people are talking about. And I'm like, yeah, this is what people are complaining about. This is the white privilege that you keep hearing so much about. And so, like, I was having fun and saying only a white woman could get away with that. And then, like, then that was a reverse situation where it was a white woman that I had helped get on several different shows. Like, I got her headlining a lot of stuff, and that's no lie. Like, this particular woman got on my nerves because, she jumped on and was like, why do you have to say that about women? And I felt like, bitch, I've helped you more than probably anybody else in this business. I have really helped you. So why would you come on trolling me and think that I mean you in any way? If I meant you in any way, if I thought that you were working strictly off white privilege, do you think I would be helping you get ahead? And it wouldn't be like I would try to hold anybody back, but at the same time, I would not try to help her get ahead because I'd be like, she has enough people helping her out. Like, that's one of my main things. Like, when I'm trying to, like I said, more recently I've been working with Garrett Hall. I take Garrett Hall out with me, and then John Hilder, I have him come out with me. But right now we haven't been on the road for a while doing anything anyway, except for in a couple weeks I'm going to be at the Sacramento Laughs in Sacramento. Laughs Unlimited in Sacramento is where I'm going to be on August 8th, and it's just for one night. It's a Saturday night, and I'm taking John Hilder with me. We're just going to do a quick turnaround trip. But, I don't, it's for the 40 for 40, if you guys aren't familiar. It's a comedy contest, and I am headlining it, while they tally the votes, and then John Hilder is going to be hosting it. And so, like, my thing is, like, that's kind of what I book off of. Even Garrett Hall to a degree is kind of that way, but it works out a reverse way. Like, when it comes to me, like, taking somebody on the road, one, they have to be easy to travel with. That's one thing. And then, like, the other thing is, I usually try to take people that I know aren't necessarily going to get those kind of opportunities just anywhere. Like, a lot of times with women, I'll bring women on the road, because women are like, straight guys are creeps. They're going to try stuff on me, or they have tried stuff on me. And, that's valid. I know that some people are like, women just need to toughen up. And sometimes when people are overly complaining, I'm like, yeah, there are certain places where, some of the women that I hear complaining do need to toughen up. And that may sound insensitive, but this is where you get to see, like, the balance in my thinking. Is there are the women that I feel that way about, and then there are the times that I've been like, yeah, I can see what you're talking about being a real problem, and so I will try to help you out. Like, here's the difference. If you're not putting in work, if you're just doing open mics and you don't get up very much, and you're, not trying in any way, but you're complaining about the fact that comedy is sexist, I'm going to dismiss you, because I'm going to be like, you're not working hard at it. If you're working hard and you're not getting opportunities, guys are being creepy with you, I see you at the open mics, I see you trying to make shit happen, I see you doing your best, then if I can step in and be like, hey, do you want to come on the road with me? I'm obviously not going to be a creep with you. Then I will take you on the road. Like, that's the way it works. Same with a lot of times, like, men of color, like Latinos, or, like, a lot of times they just get looked over because people feel like, oh, this person isn't necessarily going to appeal to my audience. So I try to help them out. The comics that helped me out had no reason to help me out, other than the fact that they thought I was talented. But also, I realized that them helping me out was a huge hookup, because a lot of people were afraid to have me, being gay and Latino, do their shows, especially headline. But once they saw me feature for, like, a really big comic, a Joe Coy or Gabriel Iglesias, or Russell Peters is also helping me out. Like, when they saw me working with comics of this caliber and featuring and killing it, then club owners and bookers were more likely to be like, okay, we'll give this guy a shot. So I try to pay that forward. Like, obviously, probably with Joe Coy, Russell Peters, and Gabriel Iglesias, I'll probably never be able to do anything for them, that's the level that they've done for me. That's just a matter of fact. But if I can pass that on to somebody that's, like, newer, or not as far ahead as I am, or haven't had the opportunities that I've had, then I'd like to take that opportunity. So my point was, with this particular comic, when she was the one that jumped in, and she was a white woman, and she, like, really came at me in a way like, I was being insulting to her personally, I was like, I've helped you out so much, so why would I have helped you out that much if that's the way I felt about you? Like, did you think that this was my chance to be passive aggressive towards you? Because I don't do passive aggressive. I do aggressive aggressive. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I don't have any personal or private feelings about people that I like publicly. Like, when it comes to the people that I like publicly, I just like them. If I hug you in public, and I, go through the whole thing with you where we're friends and we're huggy and whatever. I don't do Hollywood hugs. So if I'm hugging you, if I'm shaking your hand, if I'm like whatever I'm giving you is what you're getting. You know what's actually happening, what I'm actually feeling. So, you know, it's always the wrong people though. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about anymore. All I know is life is good and I hope all of you will eventually come around to feeling the same way. You got to remember, whatever it is that's bothering you, you find your unbothered. That's what my message is going to be for you guys this week. You find your unbothered. You know, like whether or not it's talking to a friend or maybe just writing it in a journal or whatever it is, take the things that bother you. Like, take my example. Take the things that bother you and just put them somewhere, and work them out until you're unbothered, which is really, I can say after this episode, where I am. It's just, it feels good just to talk sometimes. And I appreciate you guys listening. Like I said, just do you. Your vibe will find your tribe. Stay unbothered, ladies and gentlemen.